Montreal. I'm Jane, and today we are joined by Renata Blanc. Welcome, Renata.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you too. So we met at the John Molson International Case Competition.
Yes.
And you represent the Porto team.
Yes.
Where you are the program director for the International MBA there.
Yes, that's right.
Great. Can you tell us where you came from and how you came to be where you are professionally?
Yeah, well, I had a degree in economics. I worked as an auditor and as a consultant for about 5 years.
Nice.
And then I decided, well, I worked first in auditing, then consulting, then I went back to auditing again.
Yeah.
And I decided, well, if I keep with this track, I'll probably just be a CFO or something like that. And I really didn't feel that it was my, where I wanted to be.
Yeah.
It was not my calling. So at the time, I decided to do an MBA myself.
Oh, okay. At Porto?
At Porto Business School.
Oh, nice.
At the time, it had a different name, but it was Porto Business School.
Yeah.
And then I never left.
Yeah.
So after finishing the MBA, well, at the time, our school was actually, the dean was a former Ministry of Economy.
Oh, wow.
And the school had a very strong consulting department.
Yeah.
And so by the end of the MBA, he actually invited me to work with him as a consultant.
Wow.
And this is what I started doing. So I started working at Porto Business School as a consultant.
Yeah.
Later on, I started teaching at Porto Business School and at the Faculty of Economics.
Yeah.
And I never left.
That's perfect.
And so I kind of did both. So a bit of consulting, a bit of teaching. Yeah. And it's actually curious because I remember that when I finished my MBA, we had a leadership course.
Yeah.
And by the end of the course, the professor, it was a guy from London Business School.
Oh, wow.
And at the time, he actually made us do this really cool exercise, which was we would write a letter to ourselves.
Yeah.
Like if it was ourselves congratulating us for what we achieved in a 1 year time.
Yeah.
And we actually shipped the letter. Well, actually, the school kept the letters during 1 year.
Yeah.
And he would ship they would ship the letter, and we received a year later. So I remember, 1 year later, I was getting a letter, a written letter, and I was like, okay, I'm seeing a letter here. This type of letter is kind of familiar to me. And it was kind of the letter to myself. It was super curious because I think this type of exercises can be great, but also really frustrating if nothing happened what you planned, right? But at the time,
did it go well?
Completely. So I was kind of congratulating me for such an effort with the MBA, and 1 year was by, and at the time, and I achieved my dream of being both a consultant and a professor.
Oh, wow.
Which was exactly,
it came true.
Yes, it came true. So it was really, really cool. So I really love what I do.
Yeah.
And I think that both things really mixed well. I mean, on one side teaching, but on the other side doing consultancy, so that you get all these relevant insights from the industry that you can then bring to your students.
Yeah.
And it's great. And this especially it's part of training teams for competitions. And I also teach problem solving, a problem solving course.
Yes, I heard.
It's basically the teaching that we do for the competitions. It's great because we're very well informed, about trends in all the sectors and industries, and it's super good. And I love people. I love working with people. So it's teaching is a great way to be surrounded by talent and people that really drive us also, and that challenge us to think differently, to see the world in another way. And traveling also, it's amazing.
Okay. How long have you been involved with the competition?
Well, with this competition, 13 years.
13 years?
Yeah. So the first time we came was actually in 2010.
Okay.
And I have been participating in undergrad competitions since 2007.
Okay. And how do you think the John Molson competition has evolved during the last 13 years?
I mean, the spirit is the same.
Yeah.
Okay, so there is this, learning spirit. I also participate with teams from undergrad, with teams from undergrad teams in international case competition, but for undergrad students. And the format that I find here at the John Molson is very unique. So the fact that you have, 7 cases, even if you don't do that well and you don't achieve the semifinals, it's 5 cases. It's super intense. Yeah. And it's the fact that you actually, you solve one case, you see what you didn't do well. The following day, you are solving another case. Then the learning process and the learning opportunity.
Resilience.
It's incredible. Yeah. It's incredible. So this competition is unique, and it was like that since the beginning. But of course, we are in new times. Now you guys use computers.
Yes. Internet.
use internet. So when we started participating, we actually used transparencies.
Yes, yeah.
Which was actually a super interesting challenge, because people had to learn how to, just put all their ideas into a transparency with a letter that people could actually read.
Yeah.
But the spirit is the same. I mean, it's this learning. At the same time, the networking is great here. You meet so many people.
Yeah.
And for me, that I've been coming over the years, it's been really interesting, because I've made friends here. So every year we get to meet again, and it's a highlight. Starting the year at Montreal has become really a highlight of the year.
Oh, that's so good to hear. I was speaking to Matt as well from Lund University, and he said by going to this competition, he actually learned and he actually changed throughout the time that he was here. So
I mean, what you have to teach is different. I mean, the way you teach is different. So I remember that the kind of skills to use transparency is completely different, and the skills that you have to learn when you have a computer. And actually, there was a moment when there were only 2 computers in the room. So for 14 members, it required a lot of teamwork. And yes, undoubtedly, I mean, the things that we learned throughout the years are incredible. And I mean, and kind of this training for case competitions demand that you are always up to the trends in every sector. So it's incredible because you really keep tuned,
up to date.
Up to date.
Even the cases this week, it's all about AI. It's all about e-tech. It's about everything that is quite recent.
And every year is like that. So sometimes I was actually telling my students, so it's like there are hot topics every year. So I remember some years ago it was internationalization. So it was all these cases about internationalization. Then there was a period when it was a lot about M&A. So we were seeing a lot of M&As in the market, so we're seeing M&A. Then there was this trend about very much sustainability, and now it's a lot about technology and what it means for business and for people actually within the business. So it's super interesting. And when we come here, we're always like, okay, what will be the case this year? What will be the challenge? And it's super. Did you find the same when you saw them?
Yeah. What do you think was the one key takeaway that students take with them after the competition, year in, year out?
But from previous students?
From previous students that you've seen throughout the last 13 years, what do you think that they've learned out of this competition, if there was just one thing that they learned?
I think there is this little this thing that I always tell my students, that once they've done this, they get this. They will never detach from really staying super informed. And I think that's something that sticks to you, and you never lose it. I mean, you start, subscribing specific magazines and specific websites, and you want to keep because. And I think it's actually something that happens a lot to MBAs in general, but with the competition training, it kind of sticks in you, and you really want to keep, update and reading the trends. And no matter if you go work in the pharmaceutical industry, you still want to know what's happening in the mobile regarding mobile industry or the retail. Or you see, so
you really broaden up your horizon.
You broaden up your horizons completely.
Interesting.
And for me, that's something that sticks to you. And it sticks more when you go through this experience, which is, that's so intense. Because during the MBA, you saw lots of case studies too, and all related to different industries. But here, you do it in such an intense way that I think somehow it really gets embedded in the participants.
Okay, amazing. So I've had the pleasure of joining the UCT team this year, and Emanuela from your school actually joined in as well. It's been such a pleasure working with Emanuela and seeing the caliber of the students from Porto Business School. So
that's great to know.
It's been great. So usually I ask 2 questions of academics. The first one is, why do you do what you do?
I think I think I do what I do because I love people. And it's kind of my nature. And people that know me since I was a kid actually say that some of them joke and said I invented Facebook as a kid. And I think it's because I love people so much. And when I was actually working at Deloitte, I found that when I was a consultant, I found that beginning of my career, that the part that I enjoyed mostly was actually, you know, going to companies, getting to know the people in the company, learning about the business, but through people. And I still keep a lot of connections that I made, you know, when I started working 20 years ago. Some of those people are still people that I keep contact with. So I really love people, and I love, you know, contributing and having this notion that somehow I like to be a facilitator. And I like the idea that I can somehow, you know, show people different sides of the world, and learn at the same time with them. So I think that's my pleasure for, you know, being with people and helping them grow, trying at least to help them grow, show them new worlds, and just it's something that I really love to do. So this is, I think, what I like most about my job, is meeting so many brilliant people and learning with them at the same time.
Nice. And the second question is, what do you want to be remembered for?
Well, that's a difficult one. I think that throughout the years, I think that throughout the years, I've made some really nice. I've built some really nice relationships with people. So I really like to help. And so once I heard a podcast from Guy Kawasaki, you know.
Oh, yeah.
And he was saying that in the world there are two types of people. So there are the bakers and there are the eaters.
Okay.
And I really think I'm a baker, because what gives me pleasure is actually, you know, to facilitate, to open doors. And so I think that I think that a lot of people will remember me, perhaps, you know, by being the person that, you know, somehow made a contact so that they get into the new job, or, you know, just spoke with them and showed them if an MBA was or not the right step to give at that specific moment. So I over the years I've tried to help many people in their careers, and so open new doors to others is something that I really enjoy doing. So I think that there's a chance that people will perhaps remember me for being, you know, someone that opened a new door to them, and that somehow gave a contribute to their, especially their professional lives.
Perfect.
I hope so.
Well, you have 13 years worth. I'm sure there's lots of them that think that way. Well, Renata, thank you so much for being here.
It was a big pleasure.
Yeah, no, it's been such a great...
for the interview and for the invitation. It was a super pleasure. I think it's my first interview for a podcast.
Okay. Well, there you go. There'll be much more coming up.
Big pleasure.
Yeah. All right. See you then.
See you. Bye-bye.
So if you enjoy this conversation, please like, comment, and share with your friends. And don't forget to press the subscribe button so that the next video will go straight to your box. See you next time.
Bye.